Welcome to your October 2021 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I strongly recommend that you watch your horoscope for your ascendant sign first and foremost, because it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, if you've got time to watch your horoscopes for your sun and moon sign as well, please do so, because the sun sign horoscope will tell you more about your life goals and your career, whereas the moon sign horoscope will pertain more to your family life and your current living circumstances. Now, I've got an exciting promotion which will run from the first 2 weeks from when these videos go live. You'll be able to book a 45-minute Zoom reading with me where I will use astrology and tarot to answer questions that you have about one major area of your life in extensive detail. This service is normally priced at $120, but you can book this one for the first 2 weeks only for just $90. If you want to book this reading with me, or if you want to see the list of my services that are available, you can head to the link in the description box below. Now, before I get into the horoscopes, I just wanted to say to you guys, thank you so much for all of your warm words of welcome. I read all of your comments on my horoscope series for September, and I was actually quite overwhelmed by how much love and support you guys were showing me. So thank you so much. And of course, a big thank you to Lada for giving me the opportunity to present to your amazing audience. And now let's dive into the horoscopes. Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your October 2021 horoscope. On the 1st of October or the 30th of September, depending where you live in the world, Venus in Scorpio in your 10th house will square Jupiter in Aquarius in your 1st house. Venus rules over our values, and it also represents relationships. Given that Venus is in your 10th house, which represents authority figures, you may be experiencing extreme pressure from someone that you are in a relationship with who has some kind of authority over you. Now, this could be denoted by the nature of your relationship. With Venus ruling over your 4th house of family, this person could be your parent, or they could be a respected member of your family. Now, this individual may be trying to emotionally manipulate you into committing to some kind of life-defining decision. And I say that because Jupiter is a planet which represents freedom, and it rules over your 11th house, which represents your long-term goals for the future. Jupiter itself is associated with seeing the bigger picture and what our vision for the future actually is. Jupiter is associated with our moral code, and given that Jupiter rules over your 2nd house, which represents your values, what this individual in your life, or maybe a group of individuals in your life, are trying to get you to do or to commit to may clash with what your morals are, or with what your beliefs and with what your values are. So because Scorpio represents our emotional connection to other people, and Venus doesn't perform too well in Scorpio, these people or this person could be leaning into the lower vibration of Venus in Scorpio, which is to use emotionally manipulative tactics to get you to do what is in alignment with what their desires are and with what their values are. Now, on a totally different level, it may not necessarily be pressure from another person that you are feeling. This could be to do with some kind of law that is in place, or some kind of government-imposed decision or restriction. But on a different note, this could actually be a reflection of the pressure that you feel to align with a certain persona as determined by your 10th house. The 10th house in astrology represents our public reputation and the persona that the world sees us as having. So you may feel an inner sense of conflict or restlessness when it comes to aligning with what you think the world wants to see of you, or this could even be with what people in the public eye or on a public domain have said that they expect you to be like. In any case, fixed sign squares are asking us to invest in something further. So this transit may be quite challenging for you to deal with, because this really is a clash between your values, your beliefs, what you think you should be like, who you think you should be, and what you feel is the right action to take. And of course, you may simply be feeling pressured to start a family, and this is represented by Venus ruling over your fourth house of family. Maybe you feel pressure to expand your family. Maybe you feel pressure to fall in line with your family values or just with your cultural values. With Venus ruling over your ninth house, you may feel pressure to align yourself with a mentor or with a teacher or with a religious or spiritual belief that you have previously upheld. In any case, you may just feel like you are being pushed up against a wall to make a choice and to state your beliefs and your values in a very public way. Now, on the 6th of October, there will be a new moon in Libra at 13 degrees, and this will be in your ninth house. It will actually be in exact conjunction with Mars, and it will be in a wide conjunction with Mercury, which will be retrograde at the time. New moons are all about planting the seeds to see a new chapter starting somewhere in our lives. Given that this is in your ninth house, which is connected to your world's beliefs, your religious and your spiritual beliefs, and it also represents travel and education, there may be a new chapter starting in one or more of those areas of your life. So perhaps you are planting the seeds to convert to some kind of religious faith. Now, because Mercury is retrograde and it rules over your 8th house, which is the house of sudden reversals, this could see you coming back to a religious faith that you used to participate in or subscribe to. Now, this could see you returning to a religious practice. This could see you returning to your spiritual values. Now, it doesn't have to be returning to one of these things. You could be doing a total 180. Maybe you were previously a devout Catholic and now you're converting to Judaism. Maybe you were religious and now you're becoming more spiritual. Maybe you're spiritual and you're doing a Doreen virtue and renouncing all spirituality and converting to some kind of religion. Now, of course, this also involves atheism, being agnostic, and the whole spectrum of your faith-based belief systems. So there could be a new chapter starting here which could rub your family the wrong way. Now, I say that because this new moon in Libra in your ninth house is making an exact in conjunction to Uranus, which will be in your fourth house. Of course, Uranus is one of your ruling planets. Now, in conjunctions are basically 150-degree aspects between two signs or two planets in signs that don't have anything in common. So Libra and Taurus are obviously earth and air signs, air signs and earth signs respectively, and they are cardinal and fixed in nature. So they don't match up in element and they don't match up in modality. Fortunately, they are both ruled by Venus, so there is some common ground between them. But in any case, Uranus in your fourth house shows there being a disruption to your family. This could be your family's expectations. This could be to do with your cultural beliefs or your cultural roots. So maybe you are upsetting your family or they are totally blindsided by this decision. In any case, because of this in conjunction to your fourth house, there may be some pushback from your family as you try to, convince them that this is your new path in life, that this is what you believe and that you're going to stand by this. The good news with this new moon is that it is making a trine to both Saturn and Jupiter in your first house. So this indicates that no matter what is thrown at you in terms of people trying to deter you from these life-altering decisions or from this spiritual, religious-based decision, you will be able to stand your ground on this one and really back yourself up no matter how much pressure you experience from other people or from external forces. Now, on a different note, with this new moon in Libra, you may have a totally different vision for your future, or you may be seeing the bigger picture about what direction you want your life to go in. So this doesn't have to involve spirituality or religion. This may just involve you finally realizing what your life mission is or what your soul path involves. And, I say this with confidence because of this trine to Jupiter and to Saturn. Saturn represents you, it is your chart ruler. And together with Jupiter, even though they're not in close proximity to one another, this basically shows that you can hold on to your set of values and to your morals and really just, commit yourself to the path ahead, especially because Jupiter rules over your 11th house, which represents you, sticking to what you want your legacy to be or committing to what you want your legacy to be. Now, lastly, with this new moon in your 9th house, this could see you starting a new chapter with regard to your higher learning and studying something in a lot more detail. You may be starting some kind of master's program. You may be commencing a PhD program. Now, between the 6th and the 19th of October, we will see 4 planets stationing direct. And in order, those are Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius, and Mercury in Libra. But let's start from the top. On the 6th or the 7th of October, we will see Pluto stationing direct in Capricorn in your 12th house. For many of you Aquarians, you may have spent the last 5 months while Pluto has been retrograde in a very introverted state. You may have been quite pensive. You may have been in either self-imposed or government-imposed isolation or quarantine. Now, you may feel like your subconscious self took an absolute beating during the last 5 months. It may have been very, very difficult for you to cope with that nearly half a year period because you may have been dealing with repressed memories, or you may have been dealing with fears which were buried deep in your subconscious, sort of bubbling up to the surface. Now, you may feel very transformed by that experience on a deep and psychological level. On the 11th of October, we will see your ruling planet Saturn stationing direct in Aquarius in your first house. So you may have overcome a major blockage or obstacle over the last 5 months. Now, if this wasn't like one big obstacle or, sort of blockage between going where you want to go and being where you are, you may have had to deal with a series of burdens or a whole lot of responsibilities, which basically led you to not being able to relax. This may have caused issues with your sleeping patterns, and that is represented by Saturn ruling your 12th house, which represents rest and relaxation. Now, after this time period, so after the 11th of October, your sleep can improve and your responsibilities on a day-to-day basis can lessen. On the 18th of October, Jupiter will station direct in Aquarius in your first house. With Saturn and Jupiter both being direct, for those of you who have been struggling to lose weight or shift some excess weight, you may now be able to do this with a lot more ease than what you had been experiencing over the last 5 months. And that's represented by Jupiter transiting the first house. So when Jupiter is in our first house, this is when we can put on a lot of weight. Or when it is retrograde, this is when we can have trouble losing that weight, because Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And because it's in your first house, this is like physically expanding you. So, this is about what your goals were or what your goals are. So I'm not saying you should be losing weight. This is if you had that intention, you set that goal and you were struggling with that. Now with both these planets turning direct, you can have more success on that front. On a different level though, you may just be experiencing and enjoying more physical freedom in your life. And that is represented by Jupiter being the planet of freedom and being direct, and your ruling planet being direct. And don't forget, Saturn rules Aquarius and it rules Capricorn. So 3 of those 4 planets which are retrograde were all under Saturn's authority. I mean, they still are, but now that they are direct, you will have more freedom. You may be feeling more optimistic about becoming financially independent, as represented by Jupiter ruling over your second house of finances and resources. In any case, you will feel more optimistic and positive about your long-term goals and prospects, as represented by Jupiter ruling over your 11th house. Now, on the 18th or the 19th of October, Mercury will station direct in Libra in your 9th house. This can see you having a totally transformed vision for the future. I know I touched on this a bit earlier in the horoscope, but all these things are stacking up to support that statement that you guys are having an enormous perspective shift. And this may surprise other people. Once again, this is represented by Mercury having been retrograde and ruling over your 8th house of sudden reversals. So you may have done a 180 when it comes to your education plans. You could have quit a course. You could have changed subjects. Like I said, you could have changed or converted religious faiths or your spiritual beliefs. You may have made a very big decision about the future of your children, as represented by Mercury ruling over your 5th house, which represents children. You may have made big decisions with regard to the future of a romantic partner, or for what you want to do with your hobbies and your passions, or perhaps owning your own business. And of course, there may have been just big changes at a deep psychological level for you during this Mercury retrograde period that we experienced. Now, on the 19th of October, Mars in Libra in your 9th house will trine Jupiter in Aquarius in your 1st house. Mars represents the energy and the effort that we put into things. Now, because the 9th house is associated with spirituality, religion, our world's beliefs, and higher education, you may be putting a lot of energy into those areas at this point in time. With this trine to Jupiter in your 1st house, this shows that you fighting for social justice causes, as represented by Mars being in the sign of Libra, can actually have a big impact on large groups of people and communities that you are involved in. Jupiter is associated with higher knowledge. It is a planet which represents teaching and education. And because it rules over your 11th house, this shows that by you fighting for these social justice causes and by sharing these views and sharing this knowledge with people in a group or a community or even simply online, you are actually making a big difference in the world. This transit can see there being a promotion of compassion for other people, of acceptance between intersecting communities in our society or in the world at large. So the payoff for this work that you are doing could be an expansion in your wider network. You may be introduced to a lot of new people in different groups and different communities, or even just simply online. Now, on the 20th of October, there will be a full moon at 27 degrees Aries in your 3rd house. Full moons indicate the ending of a chapter taking place in our lives. Because this is occurring in your 3rd house, You may be coming to the end of some kind of education program. This could be an apprenticeship, this could be a cadetship, and because the Sun, which will be opposite the Moon, will actually be conjunct Mars, this education program could involve engineering. It could involve using some kind of tool or machinery. It could involve getting a license for something. Now, this could simply be you getting a vehicle license, but on a different level, maybe you have completed some kind of novel or a writing piece and now it's ready for publication and circulation. It doesn't just have to be writing though, it can be communications in any form. So maybe you've put together a documentary. Maybe you've filmed some kind of YouTube series and now it's ready to go live. On a different level, the third house represents learning a skill, and full moons are associated with completion. So perhaps you have mastered some kind of new skill. This could involve equipment, this could be to do with technology, maybe you've completed some kind of sales or marketing course. But lastly, with this one, some of you may simply be selling your business or closing a business that you've had for a while. Now, on the 22nd of October, Mars in Libra in your 9th house will square Pluto in Capricorn in your 12th house. Mars transiting the sign of Libra is all about fighting for social justice causes. And Libra is, of course, the sign of partnerships and relationships. So with Mars in your 9th house, which represents what your beliefs are, you may be fighting with friends or people you're in a relationship with over these beliefs. Now, because of this square to Pluto in Capricorn in your 12th house, this suggests that some kind of sacrifice may need to be made here. The 12th house is associated with dissolving things, and Pluto as a planet represents death. Now, because it is in the 12th house, this is more like the proverbial death of a relationship. But Pluto also represents rebirth and rejuvenation. So by you having a confrontation with another person where you vehemently stand up for your beliefs and what you think is right, you may actually be able to give birth to this relationship in a new way, because you have held true to what your values are and what your beliefs are. Mars rules over your 3rd house. So this represents friendships. This represents your relationship with siblings, with cousins, relatives, and also people that you work with, and also schoolmates. So this may see you butting heads with these individuals, and you may feel like you have to somewhat sacrifice your reputation or how others see you in order to stand up for what you believe is right. And I say that because both Mars and Pluto represent your 10th house, which represents your reputation. Worst case scenario is that a friendship is dissolved or a friendship ends due to your conflicting values and your conflicting beliefs. On a different level, I just want to make it clear that Mars in Libra is all about having the information, right? Libra is an air sign. It represents communication. Mars represents having a strategy. Mars ruling over your 3rd house represents why Aquarians are great at having a strategy as it is. So this is about you collating the information rather than preaching, which is the shadow side of Mars being in the 9th house. So if you feel like you don't have all the answers yet, and you feel like you may be heading into some kind of confrontation or conflict with another individual, gather the facts first before you get into a situation where you may have to, put your friendship on the line because you have a strong belief in something rather than strong factual information to back it up. Now, there is one more transit for the month, and that is Mars entering the sign of Scorpio, but this horoscope is too long already, so I'm going to cover that in my November horoscopes. If you enjoyed this horoscope, if you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button. I will be back next month, But for now, take care and please enjoy your October 2021.